doing work without a house, and the other places got crowded houses. And that's I know because we've been living with crowded people for a long time.
Because I got 4 kids, they're all in 3 in a room, and my older son sleeping in a lounge room.
Over the next 10 years, the NT government is investing $1.1 billion into remote housing throughout the Northern Territory, with every community developing a plan for their future.
Within the $1.1 billion budget, funded by the federal and Labor Territory government, $500 million has been invested into new public housing construction under the Home Build program. $200 million has been allocated to government employee housing for new recruits, $200 million to housing repairs and maintenance, and the remaining $200 million to the Room to Breathe program, which looks to reduce overcrowding through optimisation of existing infrastructure and keeping family members together.
Room to Breathe takes a different approach to previous government initiatives. While Chief Minister Michael Gunner has alluded to providing approximately 600 new rooms per year, the program is being very careful not to set quantifiable or statistical goals. Previous initiatives have had target-driven programs which have resulted in poor outcomes. Hence, Room to Breathe steers away from this by identifying and addressing outcomes, rather than trying to fulfil statistics. Each project does not begin with a predetermined budget. Instead, the houses are individually scoped.
Early works packages were fast-tracked in 2016-17 to address the immediate needs of 22 remote communities and kickstart the Room to Breathe program. The Northern Territory Government placed parameters around the initial rollout of this program to be revisited following the completion of early works. The aim was not just to create extra bedrooms, but to improve the quality of living spaces and ease the pressure on services and facilities. The Room to Breathe early works program yielded polarising results. A successful example of the early works program was in the northeastern Arnhem Land community of Remenginning. These works provided extra living spaces, bedrooms and services for overcrowded homes and engaged local business enterprise to provide work and training for local people. The work in Remenginning was heavily backed by Housing Minister Jerry McCarthy and Northern Territory Chief Minister Michael Gunner, who personally attended a number of remote community meetings. Despite the government's best intention, this wasn't the case across all communities which received funding from the Early Works program. Residents in Ali Karung also received fast-tracked funds to provide alterations and additions similar to that in Remenginning. Due to the lack of community consultation, the corrugated iron extensions are essentially no more than a tin shed without windows or insulation.
At Ali Karung, around 170 kilometres south of the town, the Northern Territory Government has admitted the tin sheds built under its Room to Breathe Indigenous housing program were a mistake and will be pulled down.
These corrugated iron sheds were meant to be new living spaces under the Territory's $200 million housing program, Room to Breathe.
You wouldn't be able to live in those rooms. It would get to over 50 degrees.
A key objective of Room to Breathe is to become a more socially delivered program. Following the failures of the Early Works program, particularly in Ali Karung, the need for extensive community consultation has been made apparent. The goal is to be a community-led design program that works closely with communities and tenants to identify their housing needs. The aim is to engage with the tenants from an early stage and continue consultations from design to delivery and form local housing reference groups to work closely with the Department of Housing and Community Development in order to provide better housing solutions. Another goal of the program is to improve homes to generate healthy living environments for children and their families. The aim is to improve living conditions and alleviate certain pressures. Good homes underpin better health, education, social and community outcomes. For instance, children sleeping on floors is linked to criminal behaviour and learning difficulties. The program also strives to address cultural aspects and provide for the aged and disabled. It aims to not only improve homes but also prolong the life of existing homes through providing solutions to reduce stress and pressures on the dwellings through improved tenancy management and recurring maintenance, repairs and amenity work.
Dr. Chris Tucker, alongside architecture students from the University of Newcastle at Making Room to Breathe, have devised a handbook identifying 4 key housing models to be adapted to suit unique household and kinship arrangements. The models aim to understand the seasonal fluctuations of overcrowding alongside their socio-cultural and health influences.
An additional goal of the program is to increase Aboriginal employment and engage Aboriginal business enterprises. The objective is to ensure that the program is beneficial to Aboriginal businesses and results in job creation, providing training and skill development to community members. Local Aboriginal business enterprises have been involved to develop their capacity and generate Indigenous employment, presenting economic opportunities for the remote communities and building the local economy.
My name is Martin Nipper. I love to working on housing and renovating all the houses.
We have 75 permanent staff. 50% of those guys and girls are Indigenous. Employing somebody from community and giving them a practical skill is really important.
I'm from Emmonsburg community. We're doing the maintenance work on housing. We're doing painting houses, fixing up doors and screens, doing a bit of gardening as well. We've done an extension on the house for a back room. We've done that as well.
One of the soft outcomes of Room to Breathe is that it is already beginning to restore government trust in rural communities. Previous unsuccessful government and housing initiatives such as SAHIP have left many Aboriginal people with a distrust of the government. This program aims to regain this trust through job creation and building stronger communities.
Room to Breathe differs from previous Northern Territory government programs. Rather than a target-driven approach that aims to build a certain amount of houses per year with a finite amount of resources, the new revised scope of Room to Breathe approaches housing and communities holistically, aiming to give local people more agency over their living spaces. The program not only eases the effects of overcrowding, but achieves a host of social, cultural and health outcomes. Consultancy is at the core of this process, listening and understanding the needs of tenants and communities to see how their quality of life can be improved through housing and what careful steps need to be taken in order to achieve these soft outcomes.